Well, welcome to the workshop. We're getting a little bit of a late start, but you always have to wait for the doctor a little bit anyway. So since they have three guys who are known to be have reason to call themselves doctors, and we all play the banjo, they figured, hey, that'll be really clever. We've only met each other recently. Greg actually competed in a real high-level contest there in North Carolina. It's the first time I became aware of him because he has a unique four-finger style of playing, and he's playing all kinds of stuff that I said, how can you do that? And it turns out he has this other way of playing. So this is from the Crooked Still Band. This is Dr. Gregory Liszt.
Actually, I live in Manhattan now.
You live in Manhattan now. What part?
In the West Village. If any of you guys ever need a place to stay and a complimentary banjo lesson, just show up at my house in the West Village.
Okay, just ask for, where's Greg? Okay, and then we have from the Dismembered Tennesseans based in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Is that where you live, Doc? That's Doc Cullis there on the banjo down there. Originally from the Bronx, New York, and then later from Ithaca, New York, and then the last 31 years living in Niwot, Colorado, near Boulder, Colorado. That's Doc Banjo Pete Wernick. I suggest we play Cripple Creek. I mean, Cripple Creek is such an overdone song that everybody shuns it, and then therefore nobody does it, and it turns into an underdone song.
Yeah, you'll get no shunning of Cripple Creek from me.
Would you like to kick her off?
I actually just like playing the rhythm on the banjo. I want to listen to this guy.
but a lot of people hear it so much they think it's probably the easiest tune to learn, and a lot of banjo teachers, I might say, teach that as the first tune as though it's the easiest, and I don't think it's at all the easiest one. I put it in the intermediate section of my instructional book, but some of the licks in it are some of the easier licks in it. If you're just, how many people here actually play the banjo? Okay, most of you, that's nice. So how many people actually know this particular lick? See those hands go up. Okay, we lost a few along the way. So, but that's a nice, very versatile lick that can be used in a lot of different situations, and it's one of the key licks in Cripple Creek. But I always notice people when they go, and then that next slide, they rush it or something, and when they try to play with other people, things tend to fall apart. So it's something to watch out for, and once you get it though, it's a really catchy little tune, and when people ask me, and these are, say, people who don't know much about banjo playing, they wouldn't understand Salt Creek or Shenandoah Breakdown. If you play Cripple Creek, anybody can catch on to it. It's a great tune to play for a little kid. They catch right on right away, and it's a fun tune. So we got some pretty interesting players here, and I think it would be fun to do kind of like what we did in yesterday's workshop, where we just gave each person a chance to show some stuff that they like to play and maybe answer some questions, that kind of thing. So if you especially if you have any requests, something that you already heard one of us play that you'd like us to play, a request like that would be cool. Or if you just want to, you can just ask Greg to play something and see what he's got on his mind. One thing, start with Greg.
Can you also explain what you're doing with the fourth finger?
Yeah, sure. The most basic principle of the fourth finger style is that you can put a pick on your ring finger. This guy, I got mine encased in a ring of titanium just to keep it safe. You can put a pick on it, and it functions, pretty well, or almost as well as the third finger. And you can do in the three finger style, the forward roll is 1, 2, 3. Any plucking pattern that involves plucking with your thumb and your index and your middle. In the four finger style, the forward roll can be done 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can repeat that over and over again. It's real easy and natural. It's like watching television or eating a cheesesteak. There's no stress involved. And once you master that, you can do it on all different combinations of strings.
You're still going 3,
I'm still going
2, 3, 4, but 1, the thumb, might be on some string that the 2 and the 3 and the 4 might later play.
Yeah, you can. It doesn't matter which strings you're playing. You can always sort of cross over, and as long as you pluck thumb, index, middle, ring in that order, it's always a forward roll. Anyway, that's all. Sounds kind of complicated, but once you start experimenting with it, you'll start to figure these things out. You can do the same thing in reverse. 4-note backward roll. Patterns. These days, mostly what I use it for is sort of backup and rhythmical stuff that could maybe be done with 3 fingers, but would be really, really difficult, and it just becomes easier with 4. Like my favorite pattern is actually so that's thumb, index, and then these two guys, all right. The middle and the ring are being used as a team a lot of the time. You can sort of, you can sort of pair them up, and they fire simultaneously.
So you got your thumb and index kind of working like a flat pick on a single string, and then you have these other 2 fingers working 2 other strings to kind of be the chord.
frees up your mind begins to wander, and you can engage in other activities while you're playing the banjo, like rapping, for example. Sideways, deep down and tunnel underground, this wicked train car, rumbling around, traveling back and forth, sending into the factory, taking away the people and bringing them back to me day in and day out, again and again. They should already with the band, blah 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 blah. So you can, I mean, you don't have to do that, but you could maybe reanimate a banjo lesson.
Have you ever tried to give a rap style banjo lesson?
Well, I could, let's see, I could share with you some knowledge that I gleaned during my PhD years. Actually, you don't need the four-finger style for this. Maybe I should hand it over to somebody else, and I'll do that in a little bit.
You have to come up with that idea. Yeah, that's the next thing I was going to ask. What got you going? What made you say, "Oh, I think I'm going to put that finger pick on that fourth finger"? What got you going?
Well, it's kind of a ridiculous story. I was just killing time one day in New Haven, Connecticut, and I was sitting on the New Haven Green, and there were some dogs playing, and I was just sort of sitting out there to avoid doing schoolwork, and it was a sunny day, and there were some dogs running around, and there was a three-legged dog running and frolicking around with a bunch of four-legged dogs, and I was actually really surprised at how well the three-legged dog could maneuver. It was really good, you know. It was like had a pretty strong system. It had the full tripod and could get around. But you know, the four-legged dogs just looked like they didn't have to try quite as hard. And so I got to thinking, you know, about the benefits of employing four things where you used to only employ three. And I went home and put a finger pick on my fourth finger, and it didn't work at all. It was a horrible disaster at first because I used to play, you know, I used to play, you know, in the sort of Scruggs hand position where you've got your ring finger and your pinky anchored on the bridge. And so my ring finger had been anchored inert. I mean, not on the bridge, on the head. My ring finger had been anchored inert for the whole time that I've been playing banjo, and it had just been sort of atrophying. And so when I finally put the finger pick on it, it didn't work very well at first, but I had a lot of free time on my hands, so I got it up and running.
Why don't you play a tune that features the four-finger style?
All right, how about this? I'll play a little Whiskey Before Breakfast and maybe incorporate some four-finger moments, so pay attention. Concentrate on the lovely banjo notes and not so much on the smell. The horrible, horrible smell.
before it stopped. Anyway, here's a pattern that I use where you have a 3-finger roll, something like that, thumb, index, middle. But what if you went thumb, thumb, and then for the third note of the roll, you hit 2 notes at the same time. So if you're not playing too fast, instead of going, say, like on this C chord, how about if I go? And then I found that I could also use that pair, the index and the middle finger together, for the second note of the roll and the third note of the roll, and I just switch which pair of strings it's on. So for certain medium tempo songs, I found just when I was sitting around practicing at home, like if it's this speed, takes a worried man to sing a song. Now, if I wasn't doing it with the pair, it would sound a little plainer. Takes a worried man to sing. Doesn't have as much pizzazz and as much juice in it and you have that pair thing going. So I'll play a little tune that I made up. Back in 1980, Hot Rides had this new song, Radio Boogie, that we were starting to work out in C. And it was in this kind of medium tempo that a banjo roll just would have. Oh my gal on the telephone, what you doing, honey, are you all alone? And it's not that great to hear a band. I mean, it's okay, it just doesn't have much juice behind it. So, well, got me a job in a hillbilly band, I got brand new clothes and money to spend. Got me a job on the radio, and I'm saving up money for a fiddle and a bow. Do the radio boogie. Different kind of rhythm there. So while I was working up those licks, I started doing some stuff without thinking about it. I just put a regular C chord on. But when you've lowered the 4th string, it's not a C chord anymore. You've lowered the 4th string for C tuning from a D down to a C. So having lowered that whole tone down, what's normally the root note on the 4th string becomes the 7th. If you're with me theory-wise, and if you're not, never mind. But it sounds cool. So when I teamed up that kind of right hand with this kind of interesting chord with a 7th in the bottom, I ended up with the whole thing. It turned into an instrumental, and I was on the Haystack. I was on the Oregon coast, and there's a big rock here. It's just a big rock, but they say, "Oh, it looks like a haystack." Well, any rock can look like a haystack. But anyway, it's called Haystack Rock is the name of this rock, and it's a big landmark off the Oregon coast. And I thought, oh, that's what I'll call this tune. So this is a tune called Haystack Rock. important to me is that kind of a beat. You know, that the medium tempo is not the funnest thing to play. You almost feel like you're riding a bicycle when you're playing a banjo or riding a bicycle too slow. And when you feel better if you go a little faster, and the gyroscopic effect would take over and kind of keep you standing up a little bit more straight. But that one has enough rhythm right built into it so that it tends to keep the rhythm together. So when Hot Rods would play songs like 99 Years and One Dark Day and a bunch of other medium tempo songs, Life's Too Short, I'd end up finding myself playing in that style rather than the individual note style of roll. Just something that came along. And I might mention for anybody here who's aspiring in any way to to being a performer in music, if you find anything unique that people might ask you about, like what Greg's doing. I mean, as soon as I heard that, it's like, duh, what's that guy doing? And there's a whole bunch of people, really amazing players at this banjo contest, but he was the one I found most interesting there because he had this other thing going. And it's hard to, you can't just sit there and decide you're going to come up with something that's that unique and different. And so what you have to do is just go about your business, and once in a while when something weird happens, like the three-legged dog, that's a great story. When the three-legged dog gets you going and you sit there and something happens and you say, you know, this not only sounds good, but it's different. That is really cool. It's going to get you a lot further down the road than just learning some wonderful break by J.D. Crowe and copying it. That's not going to get you very far down the road as a performer. You know, it's fun, it sounds great, but it's not unique. Anyway, let's move over to Doc Cullis and get him to play us something that's interesting and different, or not, just something that sounds good.
Well, for those of us whose musical thought is largely derivative, I don't think I've had a failure musical idea in years. It's important to learn to steal. And
spoken as a true doctor.
Anybody that does not have a copy of the Amazing Slowdowner, get it.
Tell what that is.
All right, this is a computer program. A fiddle player bought this $1,000 Sony machine. You know, we put in one CD and slow it down. Well, I spent $40. You can put in any CD, slow it down. You don't even have to tune to it. You can tune it to you if you want to. And it's really a great day because I don't.
It's a program called the Amazing Slowdowner.
It's from RonnieMusic.com, RONIMUSIC. K if you're ready. And it's a great program. I do not envy the young testosterone. I expect the young guys to play faster. What I envy is their ear. When somebody has a better ear, I want to steal that leg. And so this allows me to get it. Now, as
is everybody hearing his speaking well enough? You're not speaking that close to the microphone. I'm not hearing
I need to eat the mic.
You just drag the whole thing over there.
Oh, okay. Now that I can talk sexy. This is my black thing. I grew up with a fiddle player, and you know, it's hard to break them in. First, you got to get them off booze, and that takes a long time. And I've got this one for 60 years. Next year will be 60 years we've been playing together. So you kind of have to learn fiddle tunes, and when I heard Bill Keith, I was, of course, amazed because I was a Scruggs snob all my life until Bill came along. And now all of a sudden you can play eighth notes. And so anyway, I enjoyed playing Monroe stuff, and I enjoy playing fiddle tunes. So let's try something like Wheelhouse, okay?
I said, what is that? He says, it's the obelisk flower theme. I said, obelisk flower? Never heard of obelisk flower. When I Googled it, I found out that they pretty much went out of business in the 40s. And so he obviously heard their flower theme as a kid on the radio and remembered it. And I have two different recordings, one of him playing it in the first place, and it's recorded right on this thing, because we're sitting there in his house and we both have the banjos, so when he started playing it, I asked him if he minded if I recorded it, so he didn't mind, and I got a recording of it. I kind of figured it out mostly from the recording. And then next time I went over there, I asked him if I had it right, and anyway, I think this is the one from that, but I'll play it for you. Oops, that's not the right part.
That's
oh, yeah.
the sewer truck.
Yeah, that's the sewer truck. No, Earl Scruggs emptying his RV. Let's see if I can get ours here. That's worth hearing if I can line it up here. Oops, that's not it at all.
I didn't know Earl used so much distortion.
Well, that's what happens when you rewind the tape, but you're not rewinding it, you're fast forwarding it. That's what happens.
That was Earl's.
Yeah, he just asked me if it would pick up from there. This is him singing it. Because I asked him to sing it for me so I could hear how it went.
The music goes twice as long as that, so that's when they just come back and play the music.
Now this is me playing the version of it.
Like what we're praising, like that. And you try to get
So he says, give me that. And he takes my banjo, and now you get to hear him play. So that's partly just for the fun of listening, you know, not many recordings anywhere of Earl Scruggs singing solo. That's pretty cool. It's not something we've heard Earl do before. It's not even that similar to anything he's done before. So it's kind of neat. He's 83 years old and he's still working up stuff. I kind of like that. So that's a low-tech device that can help you almost as much as the licks around and wrap up like that. Any particular standard tune you guys might like to play?
You know any rounds?
Rounds?
Yeah.
On the banjo, I haven't tried that. Of course, a round you can't change chords. It has to be a. You guys do Three Blind Mice?
How about grounds?
Give a great big thank you to Doug Cullis, Pete Wernick,
We'll just play a touch of, let's say, unless you think of another one, let's play Foggy Mountain Breakdown. What the heck?
Oh, okay. Except play ground speed.
Ground speed? Okay, let's play ground speed. Why don't you kick it off, Doc? I mean, we're all Doc.
You need to go. I don't start.
Okay.